Yeah, okay, my name's Tim Allen. I'm the product manager for Nokia C7. I'm really happy to take a bit of time with you guys today to talk you through the features and services that we're offering on it. So, where to start? €5 without excluding subsidies, taxes, and all of that. €335. Expectation is that many operators that will equate to offering it as either zero cost or nominal cost on a bit of a package. That's the indicative pricing.
So it's priced just slightly lower than the NA.
Below the NA and above the C6, yeah. We've got a tiering arrangement. C6, C7, and N8. So
hierarchy.
Yeah, along the principles, you pay more, you get that sort of thing. So essentially, I think the thing the first thing to point out is that C7 shares the same engine as N8 and C6 and E7. They're all exactly the same. Same hardware, same chipset, same everything. Same clock speed, processor, absolutely everything. In terms of performance, there's no compromise. It's not like because C7 is a lower tier device than N8, we've reduced the processor capabilities. They're all running the same engine. The differences are in the way the peripherals are arranged between these devices. So on the N8, for example, we've got a 12 megapixel camera with Xenon flash and so on. On the C7, we've got an 8 megapixel camera with an LED flash. On the N8, you've got 16 gigs of memory, and on the C7, 8 gigs of memory. Both of those are expandable through micro SD card. 32 gigs max on each. So the C7 comes in at 40 gigs maximum on board, essentially, with a card. And then on top of that, there's the micro USB port there. So that supports USB on the go. So memory sticks, stick them in there, and away you go. In fact, that's the way the content was provisioned onto these devices before the show. Put it onto the memory stick and then transfer it directly onto there. And that USB port also supports USB charging, and we still have the standard 2mm charging jack because there's an awful lot of those chargers. There's more than 1 billion of those chargers out there. And we want to not irritate consumers who've got chargers that could still work. So that's the way that works.
So it's obviously there's the obvious hardware differences to the NA and so on. Is the software package on it different as well?
It's the same. Exactly the same.
Same apps.
Yeah. So not necessarily the same apps preloaded. But the same OS, they're all running exactly the same Symbian 3, and the vast majority of the preloads are the same. There are one or two differences on the N8 where there's some preloaded content, Dolby Digital content, for example, which we can't render the audio on that on the C7, so we haven't included that.
There's no HDMI port on this.
There's no HDMI port, so that's one of the. There are three sort of big differences between the two devices in terms of the peripherals. The 16 gig versus 8 gigs, 12 megapixels versus 8 megapixels, and then the Dolby Digital through the HDMI is not present. But we still got the 3.5mm AV jack that connects to a telly just the way we've done in the past. And HD content, the exact same HD content is rendered through that port, but it's analog as it comes out rather than digital. But it's still HD resolution, if you like. The engine doesn't know that it's connected to an AV jack rather than an HDMI. Yeah.
The camera is the same like on the E7?
E7, C7 and C6 all have the same 8 megapixel lead-off camera. Yeah, full focus. So the great thing about that is it's not autofocus, so everything from about 1 meter to infinity is in focus. So there's no half press on the capture, so you don't need to do the half press and then wait But it's a short wait on the N8. It's pretty quickly, and then a full press. There's only one button. You press it fully, and it takes the picture. The really nice thing about that, I can give you an example, is that it's actually taking really nice pictures, and because everything is in focus, you don't really have to decide. You don't have to compose the shot in the way you normally do with a autofocus, where you sort of point it. And if you want the central point, if you want to offset it, you half press and then move. You don't have to do that with the C7. Everything is in focus. So there's a picture here that I captured just recently. There was no tripod used, or it wasn't a particularly cleverly composed shot. I mean, I tried to make sure it was nicely composed. If I just give you an example of how that zooms in, just have a look at that level of detail on there. Can you see that's pretty decent when you look at the full size of the shot. We were just zooming into that there. So actually, we've got some example printouts on the stand. Feel free. Well, in fact, I've got some here, but it's not brilliant light for looking at these, but these were just printed by Photobox, uploaded directly from here. No post-processing, no mucking about. So we're not saying that this is taking the best pictures in the world. You want the best pictures in the world? Go and get a Nokia N8. Uncompromised. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the Nokia N8 camera. It's taking fantastic pictures. What we wanted to make sure of was that with C7, we wanted photographs to be convenient, so that when consumers need to take that nice picture, they can. But just because it's convenient, it doesn't have to be a crap picture.
So was the decision of putting EDOF inside more of a business and a convenient decision rather than keeping the size slim, or it was a mixture of both?
The primary driver for C7 was we wanted to maintain this beautifully slim product. So our number one objective was keep it slim. We never set out to design the slimmest phone in the world. That's something that's easily beaten always. Somebody can always out-thin you. We wanted to have a product that was slim enough that people didn't have to worry about it. It easily slips in your pocket. There are no problems there. We've had nobody look at it and say, do you know, I love that. It's just a little bit too thick for me. Nobody is saying that. It's not. You would never regard that as a chunky phone. So we set out a sort of objective of having it a slim, sleek design, and that immediately imposes a number of constraints on what you can fit in. We obviously wanted to put the same 3.5-inch NHD display as we've got on the Nokia N8. That was very important because it's nice size to view your content on. But the thickness then is really driven, or really drives what you can do in terms of the camera and the optics. And we couldn't get something of the sort of capabilities of the N8.
Is the glass on this Gorilla Glass?
The glass on this is Gorilla Glass. It's not. We don't use that trade name, but it's the same Gorilla Glass from Dow Corning. Yeah.
The display has CBD.
So the display on this has got a polarizer built in. Okay. The stack up that we have in terms of the layering between the LCD layer, the glass on top, the anti-splinter layer, the air gap, and then the glass on top with a coating, that is slightly different from the stack up that we have on the C6. On the C6, there is a polarizing layer which is implemented differently on here. So we have polarizing in our display. We don't have this separate layer that allows us to call it CBDs.
So in real life, is there a big difference?
Well, so what is real life?
Well, you notice a large difference, really, I guess.
If you walked outside today when it was quite sunny earlier,
you can certainly see a difference when you stick the devices next to each other. I can adjust my device through the settings to make it look different again. So there are you can say with all these things, when you put two things next to each other, they always look different. Same as when you go and buy a television. You know, you're confronted in the shop by a whole array of televisions, and that one doesn't look as good as that one, doesn't look as good as that one. But actually, when you take one on its own, you say, actually, that looks pretty damn good. So we don't, we do an awful lot of testing to make sure that this is visible in daylight, because we don't just sell to countries where there's poor, overcast weather all the time. We want bright light. We know there are challenges associated with that. We've got an ambient light sensor here which detects the ambient light and winds up the brightness accordingly. We're in relatively dim lighting now, so we've wound it right back down automatically to cope with that.
Adjust the lights for the backlit keys?
The backlighting on the keys...
Are they always on?
We've changed this so many times I can't remember. So they're certainly always on, and I mean until
the screen is off.
Until when the screen goes off. Honestly, I don't remember how we've left that.
What do you think will be the biggest draw for somebody who is thinking about the C6 to say move up to the C7, apart from probably the size and the screen slightly bigger?
So essentially, the C6 and the C7 are, as I said, they've got the same engine. The differences there are the peripherals, and in this case, the C6 has got a slightly smaller display, 3.2 instead of 3.5. It's still the same mobile HD resolution, 640 by 360. It has smaller memory. The memory that we have in here is 8 gigabytes, expandable through the micro SD card. The C6 has a micro SD card with 2 gigabyte card in box. So it doesn't have the 8 gigs plus the micro SD card. It has the micro SD already configured with 2 gig. And I think probably the only other difference is that it has the same camera. It performs exactly the same way.
Probably a little slimmer. This is probably slimmer than the C6.
Yeah. So because the C6 display is that little bit smaller. At the top end, we've been able to reduce the size, and at the bottom end, it's not as tall in that orientation. There's still the same amount of electronics that's got to fit in there. So actually, the C6 becomes a little bit thicker. I don't know if you've got a session with the C6 guys, but okay. I don't think it's particularly thick. It feels really lovely in the hand. It's a really nice compact feel. It certainly isn't sleek in the sense of the C7, but it's a really nice feel to it.